Good evening, afternoon, or whatever time it may be around the world. Welcome to Brackets for a link to the past Randomizer Tournament 2019/2020. This is game one between the 8th seed coming out of groups Plasma Kappa versus the 57th seed coming out of groups rdwalshv. I'm Mercer. I'm joined tonight on commentary by Tiru. How are you doing tonight?
That seems hardly fair. The 8th has to fight the 57th.
I mean, 1 through 64, they're all incredible at this point.
Well, I'm looking forward to this. I've been waiting for this all day. I caught a little bit of some races played earlier, but this is my first full brackets race that I get to actually watch in its entirety. So I'm pretty psyched.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this, although both our runners appear to want some help tonight. We'll see how this goes. I think Mario may be rescuing the princess. I think that's how that usually goes.
It's always cute when the runners put some little memes together like this. Hopefully they practice with these sprites.
Should be going any second now.
Again, it's a little tricky if you've not played with a particular sprite before. I don't know if the princess and Mario are their standard ones.
I'm not sure. I don't think they are. A lot of runners do judge their bomb jumps by the shadow, so any sprite will work. Looks like they're both starting in Sanctuary.
Right, so this is a game one between the two players. So we're using all the default settings, open mode, defeat Ganon, 7/7 crystals, and both starting with Sanctuary, giving us our Lost Woods and or Graveyard Lights checks.
Yeah, and Kappa gives us an early map check, Walsh now doing the same. Normal crystals at Eastern and Desert, and green pennant up at Tower of Hera.
It's one of the easier locations to pick up that green pendant if we end up needing it. Bombs on the Crab is a really nice prize. Kappa picked that up, and Walsh should probably find that as well. One thing you definitely want to check in the early game is the Crab prize and the tree pool prizes. You can check one or two of them pretty quickly. Just, maybe that'll give you the bombs you need for your Kakariko trip. And knowing if there's, maybe 20 rupees on those items as well can help you a little bit later if you're farming for money.
Yeah, just some money in Lost Woods to start. Walsh save quits out at that point. Gonna take south route. Or no, just going over towards Eastern, that looks like.
Probably, is he checking the island here? This floating island. What's it have for us today? Just a heart piece. This is a convenient location to get to the bomb shop.
Okay, yeah, probably going to do South Shore then, I would guess. I'm not totally sure.
Yeah, I was thinking Sasharala, but you need that bomb. Fortunately, we got the 50 rupees. That was enough money to buy the bombs. Alternatively, I was actually originally thinking maybe we'd see a southern Kakariko check, but nope, we're going straight to Sasharala.
And getting a lot of checks here.
This is the times where the trackers really have to stay on top of things. You have two different people going to two different item dense locations, but not finding anything of value in either of them.
Yeah, only click that our tracker had to make was that blue boomerang in Kappa's side.
Yeah, Walsh not deciding to dip into Eastern makes a lot of sense. I just that would be a very, very early Eastern play. Maybe if you started with the bow, you'd do it. But I don't see any other reason you go in there. Yeah, Sasharo's hut can definitely come in handy though. If you find the flute there, or bottle or boots, something that you can activate while you're in Kakariko, you can save you having to make a second trip. But we find our first useful item, the lamp, on the Kappa side at the bottle vendor.
Yeah, other than that, mostly it's just been a whole lot of cash. And there's our moon pearl in the chicken hut, so at least a couple of items out of Kakariko.
Yeah, Moon Pearl, that's going to come in handy if Kappa decides to do some of the fake flipper tricks. You need the Moon Pearl in order to access some of those items. Walsh is already down in that general area, not going to be able to do those particular checks. We'll see what he does.
Given how little that Kakariko really had, I was kind of figuring we might get a big South Shore, and I was wrong. That is a lot of nothing.
And speaking of nothing, another big 20 on the library. So we can't get that without the boots, but once we get the boots, we are not going to come back and get that. Walsh giving us probably what looks like an ice rod cave check down the 5 bombs. I have to be really careful. I can only take 2 hits from these crabs. Even with 3 hearts, it's still just 2 hits. After this, we can maybe see a fake flipper check, but probably save and quit. Kappa following the same route.
Yeah, the only thing Walsh would really have access to is Hobo, no Zora money, and no Moon Pearl.
Yeah, absolutely. If you get the boots there, and you might have buffered a water walk and done hobo because you take advantage of the run speed. But other than that, there's really nothing he can do. Finally making that Kakariko trip. This will get the lamp and the moon pearl, but we haven't really seen a lot of value here. Can't go up to the mountain until we get the gloves. Probably don't want to dip into Eastern unless we have a bow. Can't do desert without the book. Gonna have to start probably crossing our fingers and hoping that escape has something. That lamp definitely puts all the escape sequence in logic.
Yeah, as long as the key's in the front, right? If it's in the back, they can't get to it.
Meaning Moldorn doesn't stand a chance.
I mean, it's awfully nice of it to stand still for that bomb.
Yeah, Kappa's down to 3 bombs. Going to use 1 more on Ice Rod Cave, but that's our only weapon at the moment, just the bombs. So we're probably going to have to buy more before heading into escape if we're doing a bomb escape sequence.
Yeah, you can do it on 5 bombs, but then you have to be perfect with them. You probably want to go in with more than that.
So we have a couple one-off locations we can check as well. We have a Gina's Cave, which is over by Desert. That's something that we can get to. We could fake flipper up to Zora. That would be out of logic. He's giving us plenty of money though, so we can definitely afford it.
Yeah, I'll be surprised a bit if Kappa doesn't fake flipper up to the Zora area, given, having Zora money and Moon Pearl.
Yeah, not saving and quitting. So it does look like that's the case. This gives us the item on Hobo, 2 items at the Waterfall Ferry, which we can get because of that Moon Pearl. And of course, in addition to Zora, we can check the ledge item. We can't pick it up, but we can at least know what it is. So this is a pretty useful check. The only downside about doing this, early in the game, out of sequence, is it might be a little easier to loop this in with Catfish later on in the game if you have the mirror when you have Dark World access. But he's having a little bit of trouble setting it up there. There's a lot of screen transitions.
Yeah, probably would have been better off just doing the bomb setup for this.
So trick. Sorry, I was gonna say, yeah, trick for that setup is you basically got to be 1 pixel from the screen transition, and when you jump in, you move, and it transitions you instead of kicking you back out, and you're just a little bit off. I think the harder setup is jumping down here from the hobo's ledge. This one is, for me anyway, a little bit trickier to line up. But this is our first sequence broken item of the game. Just a big 20.
Yeah, that's not going to be a problem to figure out the logic for.
I think this is our first look at the stun prize there. 1 bomb. It's pretty useful in having the boomerang. Basically gives Walsh unlimited bombs at this point. Boomerang plus game knowledge. Actually, that's not true. There are different prize pools from different enemy types, but from green guards anyway, it's going to be bombs.
Well, it'll make this escape a lot easier. Although on 10 bombs, I wouldn't think that he'd have a problem anyway. Also, the stun prize is constant across the prize pack, so it will just always be a bomb.
Oh, I stand corrected. Yeah, and unfortunately, you can't hold more than 10 anyway at the moment. So nothing in the waterfall cave. The ledge is 50 rupees there. Stun definitely comes in handy doing these bomb strats, though. It was pretty nice stunning that blue guard. And Kappa has to be extra careful not to take any damage. When you're doing the water walk there, it's instant death if you get hit.
Well, we're down to just this escape area, Eastern and Agena.
Well, Kappa, it would make a lot of sense if Kappa checks Sasharala, because those are 3 items that he hasn't seen yet. With the lamp, there's more in logic for Eastern Palace, but we just found out the glove is in escape, so that's where our intended progression is. Combined with the lamp, that gets us up to Death Mountain. Only 2 items, but it's something.
Yeah, also means we can get into back of escape whether or not Dark Cross has the key.
Yes, and that does also put the Zora check that Kappa did into logic now with that glove, despite it not being a particularly useful check in this particular scene.
Yeah, I was about to say we can make sure we logically have that heart piece.
Like Princess Peach there using the boomerang to pick up the key that's right next to her. That's some swag. Very good decision, I think, on Kappa's part, especially given what we've seen heading up to escape here without bothering with the Eastern dip. And Walsh giving us the check in the back right now as well. So these are 3 more items.
Oh, and there's a bow. That's pretty good.
Very, very nice find. Well, that's pretty clear where our next location is going to be. Full clear of Eastern Palace. We have 3 more hearts than we normally would at this point in the game, so might as well clear that dungeon.
It looks like Walsh disagrees, though. That appears to be heading for the mountain.
Not a bad play. You get 2 items and a save and continue point. Probably, unless we find the hook shot or the mirror, we're not going to be able to go any further than this. This is also an Agena escape check. We saw Kappa do it, but Walsh skipped initially. When you're going up the mountain, it's a pretty decent time to get this check done.
Yeah, a lot of runners won't do it until they have boots, but you can't really argue. Kappa ran too low on bombs to continue the escape, I think.
That's very unfortunate, especially. Well, no, I was going to say
Dark Cross.
Yeah, but the glove was in the downstairs.
Yes.
So I'm not sure what Cap is thinking. I mean, he wants to check Dark Cross and then the back, but he's still gonna have to come back in and check those two locations. I honestly don't know exactly what route he's planning.
He is. I'm a little confused here too.
He's gotta be careful this bomb doesn't get him. He's almost out of health. So the mushroom is in Spectacle Rock Cave. Probably worth definitely picking that up.
Yeah, it's hard to say no to the unknown item.
So this is not great for Kappa. Got that bow and probably says, I got to run over to Eastern. Eastern is still going to be a little bit of a pain in the ass without a weapon other than the bow. That's all he has. But more important is the fact that he's not going to have those gloves, and he's not going to find those gloves in Eastern. Actually, if there's a progressive gloves in Eastern, that would probably be the worst case scenario.
Possibly the mountain didn't, unless this mushroom yields something, it's not really worth a ton. It really depends on what's here in Eastern. Like most situations, this is just going to send him back to escape.
Yeah, worst case for Walsh, at least picked up the save and continue point, and that's about all we got from the Death Mountain trip. Kappa, if Kappa doesn't find gloves in Eastern, then you're right. It's back to escape. Those two locations in escape or Genus Cave. If we find the gloves, though, I was actually thinking that doesn't necessarily open up that much.
Yeah, that just puts Kappa up the mountain for a trip, but not really very much else.
Yeah, there's got to be a second progression item, like gloves and hammer, for example. Could be an escape, and that would be really the nightmare scenario. No, two swords and a hammer would actually not be the nightmare scenario. Because you'd still be gloves locked, and you'd eventually have to go back to escape.
No, because you could do Aga 1 at that point. Although then you're going to the castle, you probably grab those two items.
But I think what AA said, gloves and a hammer, because that gives you Dark World access, and you're not going to check those back of escape until you're midst locked.
Yeah, it really just depends on what's in here. There pretty much has to be something either in here or at Agina. And I think it's just on numbers, it's likely to be in here.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna get the crystal either way, which is something that we do have to get all 7 of those crystals to win the game. There's
Yeah.
one of them in here.
Wow, this is the anti-Great Eastern layout.
Yeah, we've seen a red rupee and a map.
I think we've also seen the compass and big case. Just 2 more items. The best case here for Kappa is actually hookshot, which unlocks essentially nothing, but will be very useful for that mountain trip.
Hookshot would be a very nice item to find. This should be our next item coming out. Oh, we already saw that map. My bad.
Well, whatever it is, it's on Armos if it's in here at all.
We found 2 of the 3 items, so all of our worst case scenarios are dead at this point. Thankfully.
To answer chat, hookshot will unlock East Death Mountain, but only for Walsh at this point because you have to be able to get to Death Mountain. So that will send Kappa to get those gloves relatively quickly.
Both players did that the vanilla big key chest damage boost skip. That's one of the very first tricks you learn when you're learning this game, and it's very scary when you have a little bit of health, but they got enough health to make it pretty safe.
These little tentacle bush monsters are kind of obnoxious when you don't have a sword or a hammer. Okay, fine. We get 1 check out of that.
At least we've seen very nice execution from both of the players so far. I mean, you'd expect that in the bracket stage, but it's always good to see that they're on their game tonight. So Kappa, we have a couple of 4 out of the way locations. We have the Sick Kid, we have a Genus Cave, and we have 2 checks in Eastern. Escape, rather.
Yeah, I would expect him to do the other 2 first because that way you can just route in if it's an Aga seed at that point.
Ooh, the red Armos Knight. Don't see that guy too often. Well, here's our Sick Kid check. Let's find out what this guy has for us today. Maybe some medicine. Oh no! Oh gosh.
Well, it's not that bad as long as there's nothing at Agina, because otherwise the glove just doesn't unlock anything.
Yeah, I know, it's fun to see. That's going to be Dark World access for Walsh, though, using the Kakariko portal, because he'll be picking up mitts. And Kappa is going up to the mountain, so these are going to be the checks, and then unfortunately that means he's going to lose a little bit more time turning in that mushroom. Still going to have to decide, do I do Agina's or do I do escape again, because we're not going to find any more progression.
Yep. And meanwhile, Walsh will be getting Dark World access right at the only portal that he's really going to have access to.
Yeah, I still can't wrap my head around that escape route. You know exactly what the if you thought that was just going to be a map in the basement or something. I'm not really sure.
So yeah, chat pointing out that if Kappa does check Agina and the hammer does happen to be there, that could be hilarious. I think that's worse for Kappa long term than Walsh, but it's bad for both of them. And hey, we get a sword 24 minutes in. That's not that bad at the chess game.
So we have red pendant, Skull Woods, and blue pendant, Ice Palace. So that sword, like Chad pointed out, that's the first weapon that we've picked up that will actually let us be able to finish these town. A lot of runners, I mean, it's always a mix. You know, you get some runners that will full clear it. Some will just check the first 4 locations. Some won't even go in there until they have a hammer, and they can full clear everything and not risk leaving an item behind in a big chest. I think most people will at least check those first 4 locations, or do what I think what Walsh is doing, checking what all these other locations. Hopefully, maybe that you do find the hammer.
Yeah, you tend to at least see a trip down towards Hype Cave first, but it's not like universal, and I definitely am not willing to predict Walsh's routing at this point because that's just gotten me into trouble so far.
Yeah, hammer and Hype Cave is not that uncommon, and it gives you some flexibility. You can continue on and do Palace of Darkness. You can go back and safely full clear Thieves Town. Even if you have the frog in tow, you can still decide to do Pod if you want to. Kiki will overwrite the frog, so you basically all your options are open for you. But Kappa, we saw do a hard reset after that mushroom. I believe that was a hard reset. Keeping that in case we might need it later.
Yes, and Kappa not doing Agina, going to get Mitz here in a moment.
Makes sense. You're down to two locations versus 1 location. Walsh not going all the way. This could be picking up the frog, or this could be heading back into the village. There we go. I feel better now. Maybe they just forgot the frog.
Yeah, you have to grab it after the dig game because the shovel guy won't let you play if you have anything following you.
That's true. You can talk to Stumpy though with the frog.
Yeah, I don't think that was necessarily the route meant to take, but it'll work out. Does need to be a little careful. 6 heart Dark World access can be a little lethal overworld.
Some nice dodges there. Fortunately, only took 1 heart of health. So Hype Cave Hammer. That's what I'm hoping for. Fire Rod. That's not bad.
I mean, that's not the worst. Kana Burna as well will maybe eventually give us Spike Cave access.
Yeah, that lets us finish Skull Woods for the blue pendant, which is a very limited value in and of itself. There could be some progression items in the back of that dungeon, though. Doesn't give us access. We don't have access to ice, which is our 3rd pendant until we get the flippers. So at least there's something telling us to stay away from ice for now.
Yeah, I mean, well, the fire rod will be required eventually for Turtle Rock, regardless. But so always nice to see the rods early. Also, they may be able to do 6-heart green Mal fighter sword moth, but I wouldn't want to do that fight. Certainly not for a pendant.
Yeah, nobody wants to do it. We have enough locations left that we can still check lots of other locations. So I'm not too worried about that.
Hey, there's our other single green rupee drop off the Smiths.
Kappa, unfortunately or fortunately, giving us this early Skullwoods check prior to picking up that fire rod, so not going to be able to full clear this. But if you find something useful like the hammer in the front of this dungeon that lets you more efficiently do Thieves Town or get the pod, this could work out.
Yeah, I definitely don't hate this anyway. I mean, even if you had the fire rod, it doesn't have a sword yet, so wouldn't be able to clear it without both those items.
Oh, that's a good point. I forgot that the sword was there in the beginning of Village Outcasts. So Walsh is making the Thieves Town play without the hammer. Like I said, this could be just the first 4 items, or this could be the full dungeon, with potentially leaving 1 item orphaned in the big chest. But they've checked enough overworld locations that this absolutely makes a lot of sense at this point. There's one of our Skullwoods items, a full heart. Kappa doing a good job routing this dungeon to make sure that they don't get key locked.
Well, okay, so Thieves Town has the cane, at least, of Samaria. Again,
Yep.
not terribly useful right away, but something we will need.
Well, like the rods, the Cane of Samaria is one of those items that you just want to have it, so you don't have to hunt for it later on. And Kappa gonna pick up the sword. So Kappa's probably making the exact same route that Walsh did, so that'll be picking up the fire rod. Oh, there's the mirror in the top of Thieves Town. Nice location for it.
Yeah, that unlocks a number of kind of random-ish checks. Also gets us access to the Green Pendant Tower of Hera.
Unfortunately, Walsh has only gone past one of the mirror locked locations. That's being the Cave south of the Grove, Cave 45. So not one of the harder ones to loop back in with something else. So it's a pretty convenient time to find the mirror.
Yeah, a little mild piece of punishment for putting off Thieves Town, but it's not that bad.
So we're hoping for no key. Oh, unfortunately, we find the key. We're still missing the map. So, Walsh forgot. Come on, Walsh, go back.
You've got to rescue the maiden. So that's got a lot of interesting implications, because that actually means that the hammer cannot be behind that mirror. Right.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like.
No, it's if it's in the big chest. I've got it backwards.
Yeah, I was trying to come up with a good princess
Nah,
rescuing the
yeah.
princess joke, and I couldn't come up with anything.
I've got it backwards. I'm getting my head unscrewed today. Audience, do y'all feel drummed up today?
Well, what we'd like to see, what Walsh would like to see is our last item on blind here. And we know the map is locked in the big chest, and we do not have to come back to this dungeon. Our last item is the map. So we do have something in that chest.
Yeah, and we still will be looking for that hammer. Chad, I don't think Agina gets lonely. If you talk to him, he's gone to a lot of effort to keep himself alone in that cave.
So I was doing the festive seed, and I didn't understand how the turn-ins, the presents worked. So I just talked to Agina on a whim, and it triggered one of the presents. And for a moment there, I was like, did he do this all along and I just never noticed it? Completely confused me.
So we're going to actually see a purple chest here. This might lead into an Agina check because Walsh will be right in the area. Okay, that could be useful.
Maybe I was gonna say that this could have potentially been an opportunity to loop in K45 when you're turning that in, but given having to go re-enter Dark World, that probably was a quicker way to do it. Unfortunately, K45 is orphaned from anything that's in route, but it's not hard to get to.
This has a lot of potential to be funny depending on what it is. That is not all that funny.
No, the seed does definitely want to give them a lot of money, though.
Yeah, Walsh is sitting on almost 1,500 rupees.
So this actually doesn't open up too many new locations. We don't have East Death Mountain access. All we have is Tower of Hera access. So we can get to 2 items in Hera, but without the hammer or the hookshot, we still can't get to the east. And that's where all the items are with the combined light and dark world access. There's over 20 items over there. That's where we'd like to get.
Yeah, the meanest thing would be for either of the items we need for it to be on the green pendant turn in. Either hookshot or hammer would work, and either of them being there would be either funny or cruel, depending on what mood you're in.
Green pendant turn in would be particularly funny, I think. Yeah, I would like a green pendant turn in because you'd have to come all the way back up here after having just gotten that. I mean, they can't do Ether Medallion, they can't do Spike Key without the hammer. It's literally just Hera and the green pendant.
Also, I know it's the vanilla fight, but Moldorm on Fighter Sword is still obnoxious.
Yeah, that's a good point. We're gonna get to see Vanilla Moldorm with the Phase 6 fast mode. Walsh not bond jumping to the big chest. It's always a little bit hard to do if you don't have the boots. Doing the normal strat to fall down here. This is how you're supposed to get it in vanilla.
Well, one step closer to that. At least might not have to go into the basement.
I'm feeling that green pendant. It is cruel. But that's how I feel the game's calling right now, saying green pendant turn in, green pendant turn in. You've only been over to the Eastern 3 times already. Unfortunately, those sword spins don't really do any extra damage.
No, but they can be easier to do.
Nice.
Well, just bombs in Hera for both items. So, green pendant in hand. Let's see if it's anything.
I don't actually think there are any in-sequence items that we haven't seen yet. Are there?
Graveyard ledge.
Right. Yeah. Graveyard Ledge, K45. Those are both valid. Nice burn a blind fight there on Kappa's side.
It looks like Walsh does not want to visit the eastern area again just yet. Gonna do those mirror checks first.
This is really unfortunate. I mean, not any fault of the runners. It's just unfortunate to route these in. Key 45 and Graveyard Ledge completely in the opposite directions. If you had the flippers, you could at least loop in the catfish with Graveyard Ledge and make that trip a little bit worthwhile. But we're not even going to be able to do that. Walsh is going to be able to see the back of Skull Woods, which is something that we didn't see on Kappa's side. So that is an additional item that I forgot about.
Yeah, and it looks like Kappa's going to see K45 here.
Yeah, this is how you want to do it. I mean, with the purple chest.
That's an overworld death for. Oh, had the fairy. I forgot about the fairy. K45 is just bombs. More bombs.
Walsh wisely remembering they have the Kinesmari there and avoiding having to fight with the Gibdos. Always good when they remember that. So chat's been really hoping that we have we still have an AGA required seed in order to get to the right side of the Dark World. And we would need that Master Sword or the Cape in order to even. We can't even get to AGA yet, so that's probably not that likely, but still possible.
Yeah. I think it could even be. You don't need hammer for Meyer, so it could be a Pyramid Fairy hammer still, technically. We won't actually see AGA, probably. There are ways around it.
Yeah, we'd have to. I mean, if the flute showed up, then we would definitely go ahead and take a look at the Meyer area. There's 5 items we can get over there. Plus, we could clear desert at the same time. But I mean, we can't do anything over there until we get the flute.
Yeah, and beyond that, to get into Mire itself, we would also need either hookshot or boots.
This is, yeah, you're absolutely right. We would probably find those in the Mire Cave or in desert. But this has been an amazingly linear seed. I mean, Kappa is just following Walsh, and Walsh really doesn't have a lot of options on where to go.
Yep, I think that's the first time we've seen Bumper Ledge look like it was another fairy in a bottle.
It was. This will be our first graveyard ledge check as well. Nice use of this Mario block there on Kappa's side.
So I think if this is nothing, then it's going to be on that green pendant. I mean,
oh, so that's in logic.
Yeah, we've got the mirror to get to it.
I won't be surprised if Walsh just walks back and turns that in right now.
Yeah, I mean, Kappa could fake do it courtesy without the graveyard ledge trip if he really wants to.
Walsh is going over to the East Dark World. I'm done with this crap. Well, Walsh is like, I'm not gonna go turn in that stupid powder green pendant.
I mean, if he gets over here, he can just mirror to turn in that green pendant anyway.
There we go.
Nice.
Ninth tries the charm.
Now he's got 3 bombs left. That was only the 7th try. I mean, I can't do that at all. It's impressive to watch anyway.
Man, I really wanted the catfish check. Like, when are you ever going to be that close? Kappa finishes off his mold armor for the blue for the green pendant.
Given that we're like 45 minutes in, we need a staggering array of items still.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting if Walsh finds something over here. We can maybe make some deductions of where necessary items were going to be, but this is all, as far as we know, out of logic at the moment.
Well, they're going to be turning in that green pendant very close to each other. I believe Walsh will be there first.
Yeah, but then the progression is going to be on the bat.
I mean, that's certainly a possibility.
Oh, this is like a green pendant. Oh, Kappa gets there first.
Kappa gets there. It's the flute.
Oh, no. All right, well, that opens up Mire area, desert ledge, non-boots locked locations in desert. Quite a few things. Kappa, I mean, immediately turning that in makes sense.
And not on the Dark World side, so can't continue on to pod the way Walsh is. Walsh is going to double dipping this unless the hammer is somewhere in here.
Yeah, this, I mean, I think this significantly increases the likelihood that the bat is not going to be progression. I mean, now that we have, desert and mire area.
Yes, it dropped precipitously from 50% to something less than that.
Yeah, exactly. And so Kappa was also the one who saved the mushroom. So Kappa could do the fake powder if that does end up being something that we need without going up the graveyard ledge. Although, having already turned in the purple chest, we would need to do that with a hammer pegs check probably to make it something that they're in the area for. Bombos is our entry medallion for Meyer, though, so if we find the boost or the hook shot, we can clear that dungeon.
Yeah, it's actually much more likely at this point than 1 in 3, just because the medallions you find. And speaking of, the key is in the mat. There's our hook shot.
That's the way this Misery Mire works. Misery Mire gives you what you need.
And what you need is a fighter sword Vitreous fight.
Even without silver arrows, 30 arrows is plenty to get the kill Vitreous. So I don't imagine Kappa's worried about the fight. But flippers.
Well, that's boots hard required. Swamp is a crystal.
Yeah, definitely hard required, but it doesn't block us from completing the dungeon now. We'll have to come back here later to get those flippers, but it's actually much better than a key being up there.
I mean, maybe boots are really nice to have for desert. You'd almost rather come back and do it later.
Yeah, my thinking is that because Kappa sequence broke all the water items, we kind of know what the flippers lead to, and right now it's just Ice Palace and Swamp. So like, he can come back here when they find the boots. I say that the best thing about that is it guarantees that you're going to find the boots, and everyone loves to have the boots.
Yeah, I'm also good with putting off Swamp Palace until later.
Yes. Increasing the probability you can go mode Swamp and not have to go in the Ice Palace at all is definitely a plus as well. And having done the overworld flippers locations, Kappa isn't going to be tempted to think that there could be progression there. They know that it's all garbage. And Walsh is running out of locations that we can get to. Not going to be able to complete this dungeon without the hammer. I think just the big chest left. And nice fire rod Lambo from Kappa.
Pod pretty much a bust.
With the big key being where it was though in the dark maze, it basically means go mode pod is about the same as slow mode pod. So Kappa is not going to be able to save any time if pod ends up being their last dungeon. So that's good news for Walsh. Though Kappa might save some time just by getting there quicker and by having the boots at that point. Definitely needs to pick up a little bit of time somewhere. The seed has been so linear that up until that sequence break over to the east side, Kappa was just following Walsh. So Kappa getting some new progression is definitely needed. So it's probably even things up at this point. Fixes the time Kappa lost from having to go back to escape. So this is a good play, and I, for some reason, didn't even think about this. Rather than dive into Misery Mire and clear it, go over and get East Death Mountain done. Get all these items.
Yeah, I probably would do this because I don't really want to go into Mire with that equipment set. Mire is better than normal because it's locking 4 items instead of 2.
Yeah, and Kappa hasn't been up to the pyramid, so they'll be able to route the pyramid ferry checks in. Well, assuming they got the hammer, they would. Without the hammer, there's really no access to that side of the world at all.
There is our ice rod, so at least that particular subset of misery won't be on the table today.
Yeah, we can't get into Turtle Rock.
Well, our
oh
wow, okay.
All right.
So that's Master Sword, Silvers, and Hammer in Paradox, and Ice Rod downstairs / upstairs. Okay, that's like, I don't know, 13 out of 10.
That was great. As soon as they got the Master Sword, I was like, all right, well, maybe Aga is our East Dark World access. And then immediately we get the hammer. Brilliant. Thank you, Seed.
Oh, and there's Tempered in Hookshot Cave on the floating island. So gonna have Tempered for if this is if TR's Bombos, we'll probably see a clear of it here.
Yep, putting off Meyer. that was the play. Granted, I still don't think it would have been that hard with the you have arrows and you don't have to worry about saving them. But it's got a lot easier with silvers and tempered.
I mean, you're doing some portion of it with bombs, or 30 arrows is not enough to do Vitreous by themselves.
Are you sure about that?
Yes, it's 3 per small eyeball and 8 for the big one.
So Ether is our Turtle Rock medallion. I'm actually kind of wanting that to show up a little bit late. Don't want to have to double dip Turtle Rock.
Yeah, so all of a sudden we basically just need that and the boots. There's our cape, but we know we don't need it. It's just a luxury item.
Walsh unfortunately running out of magic there, having the 3-cycle ammo using the fighter sword.
Oh, is Kappa not bothering getting tempered? Okay.
I think Kappa probably wants to save and quit out of Spike Cave, and then pick up the a magic refill, when in Super Bunny and get tempered at the same time. I guess maybe, I don't know. Yeah, maybe he did Super Bunny. I just missed it. But I guess Kappa, deciding not to go for temper now. Gonna pick that up at some future point. A little bit of an odd choice. It's not that time consuming to pick that up, and it saves you a lot of time.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to ask about that later, maybe. For now, heading into pod.
So Kappa logically accessing pod at the correct time with the hammer and able to full clear this dungeon.
You know, Walsh about to get the Death Mountain starter kit here. And we're going to see the bomb jump here. We'll see what path Walsh takes. Really just looking for boots and ether now. We know boots lead directly to flippers, which is the only other item we need. And Walsh getting the news that Turtle Rock will not be accessible just yet. All right, and runners, while the runners are just kind of going over each other's footsteps here, I'm going to just remind everybody these runners are really great. You should follow both of them. They're putting on quite the show for us tonight through a seed that I'm happy to be calling instead of running. Let's see if Walsh goes for that sword. Yes. So going to have a tempered advantage for a little while. We'll see if it makes up the time it takes to go ahead and pick it up. I would think it will, even with silvers. And not going to be doing spike check, just fluting out from picking up that tempered and heading over to finish off pod.
Tempered sword is definitely going to save some time. Make a lot of these fights a lot easier.
Yeah, I mean, with silvers, you can just silver Helmasaur for phase 2. Obviously, Vitreous has been trivialized versus what it might have been if they'd gone straight in.
Well, hopefully Kappa just decided not to pick it up yet, as opposed to thinking it was something different. I guess tempered versus Master Sword, that makes a big difference in the Trinex fight. If nothing else prior to Ganon, it definitely makes a difference in Trinex.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, if we did find ourselves going to Ice Palace, that would also make a difference on Cold Stare.
Yes, although it would take Ether Hunt for that to happen. We'd need to find the boots first.
I think more specific than the time saved on any particular boss fight is just the fact that the entire game becomes just so much easier. A lot of enemies are one shot that would have been two shot to kill. It's more of a quality of life improvement. But yeah, it is a little bit neat seeing them sync up at this point. They have a variety of checks. There's a couple one-off checks that only one of them has done, but at least for now they're in sync. Jeff pointing out the game timers are out of sync, so it's an artificial sync. I'll have to keep that in mind if it's a close cannon fight.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see. Funny that they are this close given how different the routes have been through the seed.
Well, I mean, I think the two biggest differences were Kappa lost time double dipping into escape, and Walsh, did this this Dark World skip for the double dip upon that didn't pay off. Mostly they were just following single progression leads. Other than that, and forget the timers; they're in sync on my screen, so it's fun to watch.
And just a heart piece on Helma. You have to think they're both going to do Mire next, given that it's the only crystal they can do.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking for the flippers to do swamp. You're looking for ether to do turtle rock. Doing a dungeon you can full clear makes more sense than picking out a few overworld locations. Whilst picking up a potion here, whether this is a Mire potion or just a general potion, it's always good to have a little bit of safety. Unfortunately, like Chet points out, the fact that they don't have the boots and they don't have the flippers means that there's no reason for them to sequence break and go into a pendant ice palace. Very, very nice that's locked behind an item we know where it is.
Yeah, it's kind of convenient that we just have those flippers in the back of our minds for whenever we find the other footwear.
Yeah, I mean, a sequence break into a pendant ice palace is one of those very aggressive gutsy moves that sometimes players will make just hoping for that massive payoff. But really, the only thing that could be there would be ether. So knowing that what they know about boots and the flippers, it would be really silly in this particular seed.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether they're rooting to find the boots or ether first. It makes, obviously, boots are nice to have, but getting to go mode swamp is a lot nicer than go moding TR. Most convenient thing would for them to both be like next to each other in Pyramid Fairy or something.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Pyramid Fairy would definitely be the next logical check, at least for Kappa. That's 3 items versus 2 for Walsh, having not been up to the pyramid yet. But yeah, I think Turtle Rock would be the next ideal progression. Finding the boots in Turtle Rock, and then you just go pick up your flippers and finish it off.
Yeah, but then you have to do that extra mountain climb. It's all bad.
Yeah, they've been up the mountain a few times already at this point, so it's not so bad.
Yeah, there are some really miserable locations for it to potentially be that they've left behind, as Chad is currently pointing out, because they're all horrible people. There's our half magic.
Turtle Rock is one of those dungeons that it's not that slow. I mean, it's not that much of a difference, go mode versus a full clear. I mean, you can, if you're skipping Mimic Cave, then that's probably your biggest time savings. But you're usually going to have to go to most locations. Maybe you'll skip some Laser Bridge, for example. Thieves Town Big Chest. That would be an unfortunate location.
Hammer Pegs is also kind of terrible, which I believe our tracker is rooting for now.
Hammer Pegs would be interesting. I mean, it's an easy location to forget, given that they've already done the purple chest. They got the hammer so late in the game. I think the interesting thing about Hammer Pegs would be, you can loop it in with a magic bat. Walsh has the powder. Kappa can sequence break it. That's not an intuitive thing to think of. Sorry.
I was just going to say we found a big 20 in the big chest, so neither of the items in here are progression, though half magic is always nice. So the hope for progression here would be Pyramid Fairy. And yeah, those two are at least close together, and I guess they're sort of close to a Thieves Town redive, sort of.
Yeah, that's a good point. If we do those locations, we probably will see Thieves Town. Also, if we see the Pyramid Fairy, that might lead us up to Catfish. Kappa could hookshot across and do the graveyard ledge check afterwards, and they'll get the powder to maybe remind them that the magic bat is an item. Walsh will be able to skip that, of course. So I'm feeling either like Catfish as being progression or somewhere in the Thieves Town area. I'm not really feeling the Pyramid Fairy. Nice victorious fights from both of them. Kappa was pretty close there on health.
Close mostly doesn't count. It does mean an extra second or two on the refill after the crystal.
Yeah, Kappa's still got that fairy anyway. Not too much risk. So this looks like the Pyramid Fairy check for Kappa's side. Walsh doesn't have any obvious alternative options as well, so probably the same thing. Yep.
I mean, everything that's left other than this is so miserable. Like, I believe we've got a single item left in Skull Woods. I don't think we saw the second one.
So, question in chat: the 5/6 crystals are not red; they're marked with a little asterisk next to them. So to support people who are colorblind viewers, they can see the asterisk. Same thing with the green pendant, although we do actually see that as being green. It still has its asterisk.
And Kappa getting a look at the 10 arrows on the pyramid as well.
Yeah, I just want to point out, like, you do see Kappa using the the hammer to kill enemies, because the hammer does a tempered sword damage, which is double that master sword. So it's, even with the bosses not necessarily making a difference, just this general quality of life, you do see the tempered sword just making things easier, if not necessarily faster.
And a whole lot of nothing in there. It looks like we're going to route in Catfish. Walsh was pretty close to this earlier, so this is progression. That's kind of punishment for not doing that check when he did the Kern jump.
I didn't know Kern had a maneuver named after him, but yeah. This is gonna sting a little bit if this is like the boots, especially the boots, more so than Ether, because it just that saves a lot of time just in general movement, and Walsh was up here already during that sequence break.
Well, okay, sure, why not?
Oh my gosh, Kappa with the super heads up play, skipping that extra sword. So wow, so Walsh doing Zorak is, we haven't done any of the water checks on Walsh's side. Zor has been in Logic for a long time, since we got the myths. Kappa will either be doing Thieves Town, Hammer Pegs, or that Graveyard Ledge check, which is then going to lead over to Hammer Pegs. It looks like we're at least going to see, this would be great if we see Sequence Brook and Magic Bat, and then we get the powder from the Graveyard Ledge.
Yeah, although this is two of our locations we haven't seen yet, so entirely possible that we don't see Graveyard Ledge.
Well, if the progression is in Thieves Town chest, then I wouldn't be surprised if we'd make the Graveyard Ledge check before dipping back into there. But yep, 10 bombs in the Hammer Pegs.
Yeah, I mean you've got to think that the Thieves Town check is like the last one they're gonna do. It doesn't look like Cap is willing to invest the time to drain that half magic bar, to be honest.
Yeah, Kappa is making the Thieves Town play before Graveyard Ledge. Just biting the bullet.
Yeah, this is pretty big. If this has it, I don't know how long it'll take Walsh to get there, although might be heading there right this second. Maybe it was weighing on both their minds.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, what would be really interesting is if it's not in Thieves Town, and Kappa knows that it has to be something that's Graveyard Ledge essentially. I mean, he's not going to sequence break the Magic Bat at that point. If you only have one location that's logically accessible, you don't sequence break. So he's going to go up and get that, and then come up back down and do the powder.
I mean, we do still have one item in Skullwoods, right? I'm not crazy.
I think there is one which I had forgotten about, so chat will have to let us know. But regardless, we get the knowledge, even if the viewers don't. Sorry, even if the runners don't, because Walsh has the powder and is making that check. That's great. We get to see both of these at the same time. The shovel! Oh!
That is cruel, but Magic Bat is boots and thus flippers.
And keep in mind that also does open up two boots locked locations, the Bonk Rocks and the King's Tomb. which are potential candidates for the Ether Medallion as well. But poor Kappa is going to have to go to the dig spot, assuming
Let
it's
the dig
nothing.
spot have ether. Let the dig spot have ether, please.
Oh gosh, that'd be so cool. Yeah, ether and dig spot is the best outcome Kappa could find, I think.
And with these flippers now accessible, by far the most likely spot for ether to be is in swamp with its 6 items.
Yeah, I don't see Walsh realistically making any other play. Probably swamp and then going straight for the boss, hoping that we find ether en route. That would be optimal routing, and it's most likely what we'll see. Kappa, this hasn't seen the ledge up here yet, and that's a good check because they have the cape, so they could have gotten that. But it's gonna no Kappa, no.
It makes sense with there still being an item in here. You can do Graveyard Ledge after, but yeah, unless this is ether, this is a big time loss.
Kappa, this is like the 3rd or 4th time this seed where Kappa has been like right next to the required progression item and didn't get it for one reason or another. This is the so close seed for him. I hate the ether puns in chat.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if ether being here would be that great for Kappa because it means a full clear of TR before getting back down to Graveyard and to Magic Bat.
I mean, it would be good because that would definitely mean that they could go mode swamp, and it increases the likelihood that Walsh would have to waste some more time checking one-off locations. So I mean, we've lost all the ideal options. So given what's left, this would be the Kappa's saving grace.
Yeah, the TR versus swamp difference, it definitely favors getting to go mode swamp. Though the extra mountain climb makes it closer than it might appear.
I think more important is it gives Walsh an item hunt, which is really what Kappa needs to happen right now, is for Walsh to not find the progression en route. A moment of truth.
Delayed moment of gratification.
the delayed moment of truth. So interestingly, Walsh not just going straight back and killing the boss, which is normally what you do when you're looking for just a single item, is clearing full left side. So this is a little faster if you have to full clear the dungeon, but it's slower if your going with item is in the back. This is like extra bad for Kappa because Kappa saved the mushrooms to do the fake powder.
Yeah,
never did it.
And Skullwoods is just a bust unless ether is on the pedestal.
That was probably Kappa's last hope for a miracle. Because at this point, it's going to be Graveyard Ledge, and then getting the boots. and then essentially a whole dungeon behind Walsh. Kappa gonna be kicking himself finding the powder and having already the ability to do fake powder. It's like half magic. I probably would have done it if it wasn't for that half magic. Like you said, having to burn through 16 fire rod shots to burn it all down. I could have walked with the cane for a while. That would have worked.
Yeah, or the cape. The cape drains a little faster than the cane and lags less, but going straight to check it because not a ton else to do.
Boots are on the magic bat, and Kappa is about to get them. So I think it's unlikely, but if Kappa does decide to do the 2 boots locations and that has ether, that could also get things going back in their favor, but not a likely play.
Yeah, really the only benefit we have over the traditional ice rod hunt is that the ether can't be in Turtle Rock itself.
Right. Only 2 locations left in Swamp Palace. And there's an item, so just Arcus. So I mean, Kappa needs for Walsh to make a bad decision, just to suck up some time, like going into Ice Palace looking for ether, not finding it, while Kappa goes to Bonk Rocks and picks it up, something like that, to even up the time. If Kappa just full clears swamp and follows in Walsh's footsteps, not going to be able to save any time. Yeah, it could still be on pedestal.
Yeah,
It's absolutely possible.
it's just as likely as any other single location at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we have the Skull Woods cleared, so if we did an Ice Palace full clear at that point, we would probably check it because we'd be almost out of locations.
Yeah, I'm guessing we see ice here out of Walsh and then Skullwoods for that reason. But
Yeah, now Kappa's going to lose all the same amount of time in Swamp, assuming that they also commit to the full clear, which definitely makes sense when you're looking for one location. Could potentially, like I was saying, could save time if they go somewhere else and pick up that ether medallion. We don't yet know where it is.
yeah, I think for a close race, probably the best thing would be for it to be on one of the boots lock spots.
Yeah, with there only being 3 items in Ice Palace, and those two boots lock spots being so easy to get, I think that they make sense, as a check before you dive ice. If you were just going on, items per minute. So Kappa might make that play. It's not an unreasonable play to make.
Yeah, and I think if Walsh does a full clear here of ice, which is the only thing that makes sense to do, and comes up dry, they'll be pretty close together at that point.
Yeah, and then we'll definitely see the pedestal check if it's not in the boots locations, because there's not going to be anything left at that point. Although Walsh would have to clear Skullwood, so it would be clear Skullwoods and then do Ped. They're right together. Chat pointing out, and I forgot about this too. Walsh has the water checks to do that Kappa sequence broke earlier. Not very time consuming checks, but there are some extra checks that could be a valuable minute and a half for Kappa to pick up. Oh,
But there
and
it is.
yes, I was gonna go through another iteration of what Kappa needs to happen, and that was not it. That is go mode for Walsh. 1 hour 30 minutes even.
Yeah, even if Kappa heads straight there, this is going to be a pretty severe lead.
Yeah, you always get at this point in the race, and you have to have Walsh make significant errors, like deaths, potentially multiple deaths. He has a very, very comfortable safety margin, but they don't know that, and it's game 1 of the brackets, and nerves can be running high. They don't know they have a lead, so possibility for mistakes is still there. Can't call it till it's done.
Yes, but it's definitely going to be Walsh's race to lose here. Does look like Kappa's heading in the right direction.
Definitely good news for Kappa. Not checking those additional overworld locations is, you can't afford to lose any more time when you're running behind.
Yeah, but we've also skipped left side of swamp with 2 items, which is a bold play that we know will work out.
Yeah, so as Chet points out, hopefully Kappa isn't in the mindset of go-moding ice and betting everything on the pedestal. This could still turn out poorly if we don't pick up that ether medallion.
I think the Cana Burna item dash is my favorite.
My favorite would be the Kin of Samaria, where you get to kick the block, because that looks so super cool. But Burn's fun too.
Yeah, that one is also neat. I cannot do that one, so that might be why I feel better about the Burna one.
It's the best when they use it in a room like this next room with the chain chomp room. You gotta get the key. When you just like kick the block and then it hits both of the switches. That is so cool to watch. The only person that I know of that can basically do it like 100% of the time is Christos. It's like just the one thing that he's just, for some reason, naturally gifted at is Samaria swag. Kappa is going on the right path here in ice, so this should get the ether medallion. I guess didn't have a key to go through the door. Must have used the keys differently, and I missed it. Because Walsh did not have to go through the jelly room.
And there it is at 1:34:25 or so. Kappa enters go mode.
That's only a 4-minute difference. Doesn't feel like that much.
Yeah, I think skipping left side swamp in this case, like sufficiently different GT routing might put this into play.
Yeah, I'm still thinking that it's going to take a big error, big mistake. But 4 minutes is not 20 minutes, so it's within the margin of possibility at least. It's always nice when the key layout works that you can just completely skip laser bridge altogether.
Wow, okay, the block just perfectly positioned to make Walsh unhappy.
Yeah, it hit everything but the switch. So if you think back to like an hour ago when Walsh did the sequence break over to East Dark World, at that time, one of the only things they had left to do was turn in the magic powder. So they could be thinking that they could have had boots all this time, and their opponent probably last locationed the boots instead of doing that sequence break.
Yep, and I see Chad is already putting numbers in. I don't quite know why. I'm sure it has something to do with this Ganon's Tower we're about to do.
Yeah, they used to do this last year in the other tournaments, and I had a reason then, I think, but they're still doing it. I don't know why. On a completely unrelated question, do you have any bets on where you think the key is going to be?
I'll say Tile Room just to give Kappa the chance for the psychic read.
All right, I'll second you on that, and double commentator's curse. It's like a 90% chance it's going to happen at this point.
This is either full left or Dark Magician off of Walsh. Probably. I don't want to predict his routing because I've been wrong a lot.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with full left would be nice if you know the big key is on the right hand side and Kappa goes full right. But
Nope,
wow,
there it is.
not gonna happen. Not today's not the day for Kappa to save time on GT routing. Yeah, I agree with you, Dazed Cloud in chat. Apparently, double commentator's curse is not a thing. You can't change the location of the key. Yeah, at this point, it would have taken like Walsh running out of arrows on the mimics, something like really unfortunate. And even that probably wouldn't have been an issue with so many chests remaining.
Yeah, and I mean, it's still not impossible that something happens on the way up the tower, but Walsh is sitting on Silver's gold sword, blue mail, and a blue potion.
And Kappa, I think, skipped the big chest, so that's why they're short a key. Hey, there's our book. Can Kappa just losing more time here on the...
Oh, no.
God, no. Really bad luck.
That's brutal. That key layout is so unlikely.
I was just thinking about this key layout earlier today, trying to think of like what the odds are that this happens. I didn't come up with the exact number, but having it happen when you're in a race and you're behind like this is whatever the numbers say. It's not what you need.
Yeah, I try not to get into the more complex key logics because my brain does not work that well, but I've been told that this is not even as likely as it seems like it would be.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say is, it's really, really, I mean, maybe sad's not the right word, but if you were a minute or two ahead and you have to do this backtrack and that ends up costing you the race, that's pretty unfortunate. But going from 4 minutes behind to 6 minutes behind, that's not the end of the world.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Kappa had a realistic chance unless something just dramatically terrible happened to Walsh anyway. But that obviously does not help.
Yeah, I'm kind of going for like a silver lining moment here, if nothing else. And oh, is that magic pot? Yeah, that's gone. Oh, poor Walsh.
With effectively a full bar of magic and a blue potion at half magic.
Yeah, but they only have the gold sword and silvers. What are they gonna do?
Really?
Oh,
Really?
I think they're okay now. That makes up for the magic pot. That sounds like a double.
First one.
Yeah, it was. They missed the magic pot, and then they found a blue potion. So it was just one of those things.
And Trinex goes down about the same time as Aga 2.
So it should be a really nice Ganon fight with only 6 slashes of the Butter Sword per phase. And we're done phase 2.
Drinks the goo for some safety there after eating a fire bat. Totally reasonable.
So just because chat's asking about it, there is no game 2. Their game 2 is same time tomorrow. Oh, don't fall! Oh, no! sorry, I was so loud.
Yeah, totally fine. Let's see. Gets a double there.
This is not an optimal Ganon fight for Walsh. Oh, fairy? Oh no!
Yeah, that wasn't perfect.
I mean, now with Kappa going back and having the backtrack in TR and doing a right side GT, now those things kind of matter because we had the unlikely, we had a Ganon death.
Yeah, and we'll see a different set of teleports. They're seeded for the first attempt on Ganon in each seed.
That was just a really, really rough phase 4. I mean, so many close falls. And followed by an actual fall. All right, that's better positioning. It should be a double-double.
Yep, that'll do it, assuming that Walsh walks across this bridge safely.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed till we actually pick up that Triforce. Anytime there's a fall, I get nervous about this bridge. Whoa! All right. That's a successful first place finish for rdwalshv. Get your GGs in. Official time, 1 hour, 47 minutes, 20 seconds. And that's the first win for them in this race. GGs.
Yeah, GG's to Walsh. Kappa going up the gauntlet now.
And we are joined by Walsh. Congratulations on the first win in your column.
Yeah, not needed anymore. Okay, yeah, thank you for the GGs. Yeah, that was a race. That also was the Ganon fight. I think I'm the first person in years to die again with Gold Sword and Silvers.
I didn't think you could. I didn't think it was possible, but
Yeah.
now it is. So it's I learned something tonight.
Yeah, I'm here to help.
So I mean, interesting seed. You basically had no choices to make the entire game. Very, very linear, but you know, you did give us that fun sequence break.
Yeah, I was kind of talking to Plasma about the seed, like, after the race, and, like, I guess going for Graveyard Ledge, like, did end up being, like, the play that kind of, like, saved the run, but, oh, man, like, I don't know, like, if that happened to be Hammer or, like, Flippers that were leading to Hammer on Green Pendant, I really didn't want to, like, isolate, like, I didn't want to have to go back to the pod area, especially after, like, double dipping the eastern area, like, earlier in the race, so I was just trying to, like, hedge my bets a little bit, but yeah, that was, like, brain being a little bit too big there.
It definitely had the look of you just becoming so fed up with, you know, last locationing every single progression item for like 45 minutes and just be like, I'm done with this. I'm gonna go to pod and I'm done with this. That's what it looked like.
Yeah, kinda. Like, it was just, yeah, it was just like, you know, going all the way to Sahasrara for one item was just like, but like, I don't know, going for Kearney up and like taking however long that is for 6 items, not much better, but yeah, it was kind of just impatience and just wanting to do something weird with the seed.
So the powder ended up being really interesting, at least for us to talk about, because it was, you know, the progression of the boots, but Kappa also, you know, saved the mushroom to do a fake powder, and ultimately did a whole bunch of other checks before doing it. So it was one of those things that you both had ways to get it, neither of you did for a long time. It ended up being the progression.
Yeah, and I thought about like doing the hard reset, and I suppose that would have been like a decent play, but like at the same time, like you would be like you kind of going like way out of your way, and you're also taking like a lot of time to, you know, drain your magic. But man, as soon as I got that mirror, like in my second trip to Village of Outcasts, I did feel really bad about like leaving the mushroom in there. Like that was a real uh-oh moment, because like I had Blue Cane, I knew I was going to be saving and quitting after Purple Chest anyway, so like I wasn't really worried about like isolating the portal there, and like that would have been like the best time to check it, I think, and then like finding boots there like, you know, an hour later didn't feel great.
Well, ultimately, it worked out for you because you avoided having to, you know, go back and check Thieves Town as a check that Kappa had to make. You didn't check the boots locations. The ice pallets play was a little bit gutsy versus those slower checks, but it totally paid off for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, like, I don't know, I left, like, so many, like, kind of slowish overall spots. Like, I think at that point it was just, like, Spike Cave, Spiral Cave, and Spiral Cave was just, that was going to be hard last location for me. Thieves Town, Big Chest, and Mothula. And, I don't know, maybe a couple, like, oh yeah, Waterfall Fairy, forgot about that. So, and I was just kind of thinking, okay, well, if nothing else, if Ether's not here, I can go kill Mothula and blindfold Ped, yay, but, yeah, I'm happy that ended up working out.
I think your location count's going to be a little bit less than Kappa's at the end here, just because you did end up having, you know, being able to skip quite a few overworld locations, and the GT route was also shorter, and he was just optimal right there in this Stalfos room. Your next match is tomorrow, same time, 7:50 Eastern, I believe. Kappa will get the change of setting.
I think it's actually Wednesday, and yeah, I'm excited to find out what he's going to change. I don't think we've talked about that too much, because yeah, I was kind of anticipating that I was going to be the one changing the settings, because like Kappa's like a really, really good runner, and I don't, you know, like now I have to like, yeah, it's going to be interesting, like the next 2 races, I assume.
My apologies, Wednesday. I missed a day already this week, apparently.
Yeah, it's fine. New Year's Eve doesn't count.
Nice Ganon kill there from Kappa side. First try, Ganon kill.
Oh, you can do that. That's very impressive.
I've seen other runners do it. It's a neat trick. It takes a little bit of practice, but
You know what?
skill,
It's a
you can pull
tempered
it off.
sword. The tempered sword makes it a little bit easier.
Exactly. It's a official time for Plasma Kappa, 1 hour 53 minutes 15 seconds. All in all, a 6-minute difference. Not bad at all with the backtrack in Turtle Rock and everything else. Kappa, my friend, welcome to the chat. GG's.
Yo, GG, Kappa.
Kappa's building suspense.
Yeah, it's quite suspenseful.
Hey,
Does it work?
there you go. Welcome to the chat, Kappa.
Yes. Hello. Is there anything else you would like me to check? I've seen everything.
And the chat wants a ped check.
Yeah, exactly. Pedestal. Go back and finish Ice Palace, please.
You found the book. Yeah, you can go check ped now.
Yes, it's very important. You can
I think-
see I have made many mistakes.
Chad also wants you to pick up the gold sword for
No.
completion purposes.
Oh no, that can stay there forever. I don't need to pick up a sword upgrade when my next 2 dungeons are Pod and Mire with silvers.
So this was an interesting seed, and Walsh Mercer and I were talking about this a little bit while you finished up your race. But this started out as super linear, and ultimately, this was the seed where just watching your play, Kappa, you almost got the progression so many times. Eastern Palace, the fake powder progression, it was like almost, but not quite. Still a very, very nice race, though.
Yes, well, you can see I had a real genius moment going to escape with 4 bombs and nothing else. Which I realized immediately. That's why.
It worked out well for chat because we all got to speculate on what the worst possible progression items we could have found that Eastern would have been. So at least made it interesting for the viewers.
Yes, but then I not realized that bow was a weapon that can kill guards, and you should probably death warp again.
It's understandable. I can see why you'd feel a little bit down about that. You get to change the settings for your next race. Have you made a decision you want to share with us what that's going to be?
Oh no, I'm not changing anything.
All right, sticking with vanilla.
Yeah, can't put on wacky modes. Otherwise, I would put on wacky modes. Because they're fun.
Well, on that note, then I'll remind chat to give a follow to both Walsh and Kappa. Wrapping up, either of you guys have any final thoughts you'd like to share with us before we close?
I didn't save the mushroom to fake powder. I saved it because if that menu space isn't occupied, your life is just terrible. You go straight from mirror to bombs in a 2 flips. It's great.
All right, Walsh, any last words?
Oh yeah, just thank you guys for commentating and for the restream. Thank you to Nifboy for tracking, and yeah, good luck in game 2, Kappa. It's gonna be fun. I have a feeling that the fortunes are gonna be reversed that day.
Okay, well, I would like to beat you in some tournament at some point. Maybe this one, maybe not this one.
Yeah, I'm eager for that day too.
All right, then. Well, thank you to both of you again for putting on a very entertaining race for us to watch. There is one other race going on at the moment on ALTTP Randomizer. That channel is Amazing Ampharos, who I actually saw lurking in chat a little bit earlier. So I presume they left by now. Amazing Ampharos versus Doomtap. It started about half an hour ago. So it's a race in progress. Thank you again to both of our runners, our tracker Nif Boy for keeping us honest, and my co-commentator Mercer. It's been truly a pleasure, and the last words can go to you.
Yeah, thanks for the co-com, Tiru, and thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you for the rest of brackets. It's going to be a great tournament, and we're just getting started before we go on a long break for Awesome Games Done Quick. Good night, everybody.